The question is, what are the best ways to stay consistent? One of the first things to recognize with any form of consistency is that it's a habit, and it can be, like any habit, can be a big trap that keeps you stuck where you don't want to be in life. Some people look for consistency so they have security, and that's an illusion that exists in life, but eventually you come to realize that when you're doing the same thing over and over, if it's not serving you well, then you're just spending your life spending time, wasting time, to eventually come to a realization that you want something better. So rather than getting into that comfort zone of the illusion of consistency, there's a better way. So when we realize that all forms of consistency are habits, and habits are everything that make up our life, there's nothing that we do that isn't a habit of some form. And so how do we find what we want to be consistent about? How do we find what habits we want to have in our life? So for example, let's take something simple like brushing our teeth. Okay, so that's a good habit. That's something we can allot some time to. And we say, okay, so what do we do with the other 23 plus hours in our day? And so to discover that, life provides us, through the 24 life ingredients, provides us with natural thought process, which is ingredient number 4. And that guides us to start with observation. Observe the world around us, what interests us, what inspires us. So we find what inspires us by observing how we feel about what we see. So when we learn to start, or relearn, to start to assess everything that we see, I like it, I don't like it, I like it, I don't like it, then we come to a feeling where the universe can now put more of what we like in front of us based on how we feel. And this is why people, when they start getting anxious and depressed, that it gets worse and worse, is because they're feeling that way, they're seeing more of that. If we feel positive, if we feel interested in something, then we're going to see more of that. So we have to be careful to use our feelings to guide us. After all, feelings are our most useful form of guidance. And as we feel what we like, and as we focus more on what we like, we'll see more of what we like. And so eventually, with enough observation, then we get to the point where we find this unstoppable inspiration. And from that unstoppable inspiration, we now have eliminated the need for finding consistency, because when we find something that is so inspiring for us, and we can do this in many areas of life, it's not just one area of life, we can do it in all areas of life. As we find that unstoppable inspiration, consistency comes automatically. There's no need to force ourselves into some sort of consistency when we can actually discover what it is that inspires us and allow that to create the habits through the unstoppable inspiration that we get for doing what we do. And if a time comes where we're no longer inspired by what we're doing, let's say that we've, for example, you decide to go for a hike. Small example, right? This is not one of these life-building things, but you go for a hike, you decide, okay, go to a mountaintop. And so at some point that hike will be over, and now you're looking for a new thing to be inspired by. Well, whether that's what you're doing for a career, there's nothing that says your career has to be for a lifetime. It only has to be for as long as it's serving you well. And so as we observe, so now by having all these tools, by mastering the 24 life ingredients, then we know that, okay, at will, when we're no longer inspired by what we're doing, we're finding we're not getting up as quick as we used to in the morning, we're not interested in what we're doing as we were before, then we go back to observation. The more we observe, then the more inspired we become. And from sorting out our negative and positive inspirations, we find our next unstoppable inspiration. If you'd like to discover more about this, then start by doing the self-test at mylifesoup.com, where you'll become familiar with your current level of the power of your mind, thoughts, thinking, conscious, subconscious, and how well you're using them in daily life. And then from there, then if you can spare the $100 for a coaching, then start with a bit of coaching, a bit of life coaching, to get specific details that are useful for your life now, so you can make a lot of progress in a few hours rather than in a few months or years. If you find this intriguing and you're inspired to learn more about the 24 life ingredients and to master them, you may be interested in our Earn While You Learn life coach training program, where you can earn money in the first weeks while it takes several months to learn to actually be able to start coaching people. But the long-term benefit is that you've got a very rewarding career as a life coach in our group, helping a lot of people around the world to discover exactly what you've discovered yourself in the 24 Life Ingredients. I'm John Verway, and I look forward to meeting you.